Welcome to Careers for the Blind. My name is Harrison Hoyes, and I'm losing my sight to retinitis pigmentosa. As my vision continues to get worse, I wanted to have conversations with other blind and visually impaired people to see what advice they may have to offer and keep me motivated and inspired and continuing to strive to do the best that I can in my career. I know I'm not the only person going through this type of situation, so my hope is other people will benefit from hearing these conversations the way that I've been benefiting from them. And in this way, I'll be able to give to others what my guests have been so generous to give to me. In December 2020, I had a conversation with David DeNotaris. David lost his sight at a young age due to retinitis pigmentosa, but he didn't let that slow him down. He went on to complete his college degree and ultimately went back and completed a master's degree as well. David has held many different positions throughout his career, but he is currently the Chief Inspiration Officer for Sky's the Limit Communications. He can be reached at dave@possibilitythinkers.net or by phone at 717-298-1481. And his website is www.daviddenotaris.com. Here's my conversation with David. David, can you start out just by telling me a little bit about your first experience with vision loss?
It's a privilege to be with you today. It's a great question. My first experience with vision loss. Well, I was born in Belleville, New Jersey, to Joan and Dante DeNotaris. They're first generation from Italy. They didn't have any advanced degrees. And, it's funny. I was the baby of six kids, six of six. And my family always really, did their best to include me in everything, Harrison, even as it related to, painting the redwood furniture in the backyard, whatever it was, my parents figured out a way to help me. And so I think the first time it really ever occurred to me that I had a visual impairment was when my dad took me to meet the principal at public school number 10 in Belleville, New Jersey. And, the principal, I didn't know why I was going to have this meeting, but the principal was saying to my dad, Mr. DeNotaris, we've never had a student like your son here. We don't know how to, we don't have people that teach Braille. And he was going on, and maybe you should consider putting him in one of those schools for the blind. I remember my dad saying something, Harrison, that I've said to many people, and I've also said to myself throughout the years. He said to the principal, Mr. Manasian, give my son a chance. Give my son a chance. Yeah. And I didn't really know, what that meant. But he told him, give my son a chance. I was 4 years old. My birthday was in October. So I started school when I was 4. Give my son a chance. If it doesn't work out, we'll figure something else out. But please give my son a chance. And he says, okay. And then the Jersey Commission for the Blind, they taught me Braille, and they, taught me how to use a cane, and things like that. So I think my first real experience that I realized that something was up, was when I was, had to go to school. And then even then in school, even in kindergarten, I really didn't know that there was a problem. We would do puzzles and, but then I do remember, Harrison, getting up my first Braille writer from the Commission for the Blind. And it's a metal device. And, I still have it today. I still have one today. And it's, device with, made by the Perkins School in, I think, the 1940s. And, I was learning Braille while everyone else was learning print. And I remember I was very annoyed by that. And my teacher said to me, because I wanted to learn print like everybody else, and my teacher said, David, it doesn't matter how you read. What matters is that you read. And so, like that was, and then Harrison, then she started having me teach the other kids in the class Braille and A, B, C. So then they were learning French and I was learning Braille, but it was all okay. It was all okay. Like it didn't matter, and then she made it fun for me to Harrison. This is such a great point. She made it fun and she made it possible for me to fit in, FIT, and not sit out. And that was really a lesson that I love to bring to parents, teachers, educators, students, wherever I go. That is so important. Come up with ideas and strategies that will help kids fit in and not sit out.
So your parents decided to keep you in public school rather than sending you to a school for the blind.
That is right, Harrison. Harrison, I remember one day also, one of my dad's friends, my parents' friends, Mike and Gilda, and they had come over, and and I don't know if I was 5 or 6 years old, and we were watching TV, and I had to get very close to the TV to watch it, and my dad's friend Mike said, Dante, does your son go to a special school for the blind? Oh no, he goes to a public school. And we want him home here with us. And that's when I first learned that there was even such a thing as a blind school. I didn't even, a blind school, wow. They're sending me to a regular public school. And my dad was proud of that. And I remember feeling real good about that because I knew he was proud of that because then I learned that there were kids, I learned that there were some kids who went away and, to a school for the blind. And I was fascinated by that also.
It must be really challenging for those individuals to be taken away from their families at such a young age.
I would think so, Harrison. And, and then Harrison, like you, and like many of your other guests, I've been very blessed to have been involved with the Association of Blind Athletes. And I know that you've had, Mark Lucas and Rich Ruffalo and Kevin Zott and other people who have been involved with the Association of Blind Athletes on your show. And, that's when I was involved with the Association of Blind Athletes. That's when I met other kids from the School for the Blind from all over the country. And, that was really cool. And, they were, I was so encouraged by them as well, because I knew they were better Braille readers than me, and they were better cane travelers than me, and they encouraged me like, wow. And I saw this kid, I remember at this meeting, and he was reading Braille so fast. And I'm like, wow, you don't have to read Braille slow. You can read Braille fast too. And so, kids who, had better skills than me, they, I always, use that to encourage me rather than discourage me.
Did you go on to college after high school?
Yes, sir. I was privileged to attend public schools in Belleville, New Jersey. Then I attended East Stroudsburg University in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, and had just a wonderful experience there. Harrison, that's when I went totally blind. And I remember just really, retinitis pigmentosa is a degenerative eye condition that progressively, I lost my ability to see at night. I lost my peripheral vision, and then my vision continued to just get worse and worse. And when I was 19, I lost all of my usable vision, where I couldn't see myself in the mirror anymore. And I remember one day, I was a sophomore. I had 2 roommates, Craig and Mike. And I remember I had an alarm clock. It was a AT&T telephone alarm clock. And it had big yellow numbers on a black background. So with the contrast, if I got maybe an inch away, I was able to see the yellow numbers on the black background. And I got up real close, and I couldn't see the numbers on the alarm clock anymore. and I really started to panic. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I started to sweat, and I had the chills, all at the same time. And my roommate Craig, he was a great guy, still is. And he was sitting on the couch, and I remember he was reading the newspaper, and I was able to hear the big pages of the newspaper turn. And he said, "What's wrong, Dave?" And I said, "I can't see the numbers on the alarm clock anymore." He says, "What do you mean you're not able to see the numbers? You were able to see them this morning." I said, "I can't see them now." And he said, I guess he must have been able to see like the fright or the disgust or the despair on my face. And he said, "I wouldn't worry about that, Dave. I see here that Radio Shack has some talking watches. How about if you tell me what time you got to get up? And then tomorrow I'll take you to Radio Shack and we'll get you one of those talking watches." And I said, "Craig, I don't think you understand. I can't see anything anymore." Mm-hmm. And he said, "I don't think you understand. I'm not letting you quit." And wow. And so, teamwork will make the dream work. And I got to, now I have an Apple Watch. It talks everything. But I had a watch from Radio Shack that would tell me the time and the date, and even had a stopwatch on it. And it was just like, Harrison, I think it's such a good point to make is, my friend Rich Ruffalo would say, there are no overachievers, just underestimators. Don't underestimate your ability to encourage someone else. Don't underestimate your ability to be able to give someone hope or confidence, right? And I love the word hope, Harrison, H-O-P-E. I love helping give people hope. But before we can give something, we have to have it. You can't give something you don't have, right? So we listen to these types of programs and podcasts and recordings to get hope. Like Harrison, you're giving people hope. And we get hope by hearing other people's experiences. That's how we get hope. We hear other people's experiences, right? So then now we got hope, and wow, it is possible. Wow, it can be done. Wow, if he can do it, maybe I can do too. Wow, if she can do it, maybe I can too. So then we get hope. Then we're able to go, now we got hope. Now we're able to go and give it, right? And we meet other people who are afraid, worried, anxious, depressed, distressed, and we can say, hold on, H-O-P-E, hold on, possibilities exist. Hold on, people exist who have overcome similar challenges. Hold on, professionals exist who are doing what you want to do. Hold on, prayer exists for when you're discouraged. Hold on, people are out there who want to help you. So we get hope so we can give it.
What kind of accommodation did you receive in college to make sure that you were successful?
Not a lot. Well, I guess, I did my tests. I did my tests orally, where the professors would read the test to me, and then I would write down the answers, or their teacher's assistant would read the test to me, and then I would, on a computer with a synthesizer, write down the answers, and then I could either print it out, or I could, give them a copy of it. And so, that's when I learned, Harrison, that access equals success. Access equals success. When we can have access to the same information as our classmates, neighbors, colleagues, or peers, we can get the same education, the same trainings, we could do the same jobs, but we've got to have access. Access to what? Access to information and access to inspiration. Access to a positive philosophy, access to amazing people like you who are giving people hope, access to technology, access to exercise, access to news, access to transportation. So access equals success. And so, when once I learned that I had a teacher, Patricia Graham at East Stroudsburg University, and she told me that that David, I think I was trying to make an excuse about why I couldn't do something because I was blind. And she said, "Now listen here, son." She said, "You're blind, and you happen to live in a sighted world, and you better learn to communicate in that sighted world in which you live, because if you can't, then you're going to have limited experiences and opportunities." And she just told me, "Listen here, son." She told me, "Listen here, son." And so she just told me flat out, I was blind. I live in a sighted world. I better be able to communicate in it. And if I'm not going to have the same experiences or opportunities. And God bless her, because she was right.
When you were in college, did you have a career path in mind for what you might do after college?
No, no. In high school, I had a great experience with a class called Mass Communications. We had a TV station and a radio station. And so I was always very interested in communications and sound. I went to college and I got a degree in communications, and that's where I met my wife, Mary Ann, in that major. And I came out of college with a degree, and I had to bounce around a few different jobs and things. I was selling, frozen food. I was selling different stuff, and then I got a job working for a community-based organization, a nonprofit agency helping people who are blind, as well as disabled veterans in finding work. And so, and I got the job not because I knew anything about helping people find jobs, but because I had this technology experience that allowed me to access information and allowed me to, explain things to people and allowed me to. So I was hired because I had this technical skill that I was able to, demonstrate and share with others. And then that skill just allowed me to, and I always was interested in personal development. And so I always enjoyed, I always knew that, like, if I could work on being the best that I can be, then maybe I'd be able to help you to be the best that you can be. Right. So, so I always enjoyed helping people. And so then I got really good at helping people figure out what their skills were, what their talents were, what their abilities were, where their strengths were, and then think about their network and who's in their network, and how can we leverage their network and experiences. And I had a great great opportunity for many years working for that agency. Then I went and worked for the New Jersey Commission for the Blind as their coordinator of assistive technology services. While I was there, I went on to Montclair State University, and I had the opportunity to get a master's degree in administrative supervision, leadership training, and development. I was always interested in leadership training and development. I've always been interested in those areas. So I got a master's there, and then it's a funny story, Harrison. So important to have mentors and coaches and teachers. And my advisor, Dr. David Weishuttle, who's a wonderful man, he said to me, Dave, I know congratulations, you got your master's. He says, but if you take two more classes, school law and education finance, you can get a principal certification. I said, Dr. Weishuttle, now listen. I said, I don't want to be a principal. I don't even work in a school. He says, Dave, you work for the state. You never know when this certification is going to be helpful or useful for you. Take the 2 more classes. I says, all right, Doc. I told my wife. She said, it's just another semester. Why not? I took the classes. One day, I was in the director's office at the Commission for the Blind installing some software on the director's computer, and the director was saying to me, "Hey, this we're going to have this job posting. Maybe you should apply for it." And Harrison, I was thinking, man, I'm the new guy around here. I got 3 years experience. There's people here with 10, 15, 20 years experience. There's no way I'm getting that job. But he said, and I said that to him. He goes, Dave, it's just good interviewing experience. Just interview for the job and get the experience. It's, let them say no. Don't you say no. So I said, all right. I applied for the job. And Harrison, I applied for the job. And about 2 weeks later, I get called in the office. And he said, hey, we interviewed. And then he said, hey, I want to offer you this job. I said, wait a minute. I said, there are people here with 10, 17, 23 years experience. I know who applied for this job. I really got the job. I interviewed better than them. He goes, no, not really. I go, no. He goes, no, but you're the only one who had a supervisor certificate. And for this position, you need a supervisor certificate. And I'm like, you had the principal certification and supervisor. And I'm like, you're kidding. And he's like, no. To run the textbook distribution center, you need the principal certification and supervisor certificate. And you're the only one who had it.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow. So then that opportunity, Harrison, then because of that, then 2 years later, the position as the director of the Bureau of Blindness in Pennsylvania opened up, and I applied for that job, and I got that job. And then I did that job for 7 years. And then Harrison, I was appointed to the executive director of the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation to be in charge of all disability services in Pennsylvania. We had 1,200 staff, 24 offices, a $200 million yearly budget. We helped 10,000 people a year with disabilities find real jobs with real pay, competitive work. We were recognized in Fortune magazine as the state with the most people entering competitive employment than any other state. And I love that job. I love, helping people. And then my wife and I, we started a training company, Sky's Limit Communications, where we do trainings for schools and universities, Fortune 500 companies, government agencies and associations nationally on the topics of leadership, diversity, and resiliency. And so I'm in Harrison. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm in the encouraging business. I love to encourage people. And, just like you, I love encouraging people. I love helping people believe they could do something that they once thought, or maybe someone told them wasn't possible. So, so today, that's what we do. We deliver employability workshops, advocacy workshops, resiliency workshops, do lots of keynote addresses for conferences. And, I love to share the story with people that, if I can do it, you can too.
It sounds like you've had a lot of success in being hired on for many different positions. Do you have any advice for people looking for employment and looking to interview for a new position?
Yes. I love interviewing. I love interviewing, and I love interviewing others. So, what questions are you going to be asked on an interview? Well, I think that's really, there's a few real basic ones that we just got to make sure that we think about. And number one is so crazy, Harrison, it's so crazy. Like number one is, come up with a real good, solid answer to this. Why are you interested in the position? Why are you interested? And then another question, Harrison, I love to ask, and is why are you interested in the position? And then I like to ask the question, tell me what research you've done about the agency. Tell me what research you've done. And so it's so important. Did you go to the website? Did you talk to other people who work there? Did you go to our LinkedIn page? Did you, what type of research did you do to find out about us? Did you read last year's annual report? What type of information did you collect? So very important. So why are you interested? And then what research did you do? I think it's very important. So even if you're never asked that question, you better do some research, Because why, if you didn't do any research, why are you wasting your time and their time? And then I think another thing that's very important is make sure that, you're a good storyteller, right? We've got to be able to tell stories. What is a story, Harrison? A story is something told in the present about the past that'll help someone in the future. Again, a story is something told in the present, we're telling it right now, about the past that'll help someone in the future. So tell a story about a time that you helped someone solve a problem. Tell a story about a time that you helped someone save some money. Tell a story about a time you helped someone make some money. Tell us what stories are you telling? So, because people will remember the stories. People won't remember, Harrison, exactly what we say, but they will remember exactly how we made them feel. So how do you think you're making people feel? My friend Mike Leone, who was a wonderful coach and friend and mentor, he was worked for Bell Atlantic and Verizon for 30 years. He was in a wheelchair from polio, and he told me this, Dave, if after 10 minutes, if they're still focused on Dave, the blind guy, you didn't do a very good job of putting them at ease, and you're never going to be able to get anything through to them, and likely they're not going to be able to get anything through to you. So making people feel comfortable. Can we put people at ease? How do we do that? Do we disclose our disabilities? Well, I think, Harrison, that there are two questions that a person with a disability has to answer, and we teach this at different job clubs and seminars. There are two questions that a person with a disability kind of has to answer that someone who's sighted doesn't. And you might say, well, that's discrimination. Well, you can call it whatever you want. But I think one of the things that we have to do is demystify blindness, right? And if they're still caught up on Harrison the blind guy, Dave the blind guy, we didn't do a very good job. So the two questions that we have to answer that an employer legally cannot ask are these. One, how are you going to get here on time? And two, once you get here on time, how are you going to do the work? So one, how are you going to get here? So, hey, when you show up to the job and somebody meets you at the door, the counter, the desk, hey, thanks for coming in today. Hope you didn't have any problem finding us is likely, something that people are going to say. And I would always like to say, oh, I had no problem finding you. I took the number 29 bus. It let me off on the corner of Broad and Market at 7:30, and I got here at 7:40. So we just demystified, oh, wow, he can take the bus. And then, right, we just, in a real sneaky way, not only can you get here, but can you get here on time, right? And then the other one is, once you get here, how are you going to do the work? Harrison, I remember I served on the State Rehabilitation Council in New Jersey. And this woman who worked for one of the top 4 accounting firms in the country, she was on our board. And she invited me to her office for lunch. And so, I went to her office for lunch. And I went to her office for lunch, and she said to me, would you mind if I shut the door? And I said, oh, boy. No, go ahead. And she said, Dave, I supervise 15,000 people. I could never say this in public, but I want to say it because I want to see what what your response to this would be. I supervise 15,000 people. You really wouldn't expect me to hire someone to sit next to a blind person and read them the computer, would you? And I was like, wow. I'm like, no way. I wouldn't dream. She said, oh, thank you. What a relief. I said, why would I need you to hire someone to read the computer when the computer reads to me? And I said, may I open up my laptop? And she said, sure. And I opened up my laptop and I showed her how JAWS worked with Outlook. an email, and I showed her how JAWS worked with Excel, and I showed her how JAWS worked with Word, and she was blown away. And she's like, Dave, I have 15,000 employees in several different countries. I never knew this technology was available. And I was wondering, am I going to have to hire someone to sit next to this person and read to them? Because I don't think that we have the positions to do that. And I said, well, certainly you know the answer to that now. No, you don't have to hire someone to sit next to anybody and read them anything. And so the two questions, Harrison. Once, how are you going to get here? Once you get here, how are you going to do the work? If you could, come up with a good way to, because Harrison, this is a very important point. You've got to be able to answer those questions, because if you don't answer those questions, they're going to come up with answers themselves, and you might not like the answers they come up with. So make sure that you do a good job of explaining, sharing, and demystifying for other people so they know how you're going to be an asset, not a liability.
You've been inspiring people for a long time. What inspires you and what keeps you motivated?
I think, Harrison, it's the 3 F's, faith, family, and friends. Faith in a higher power, I call God. You can call that higher power, whatever you like. Faith, gives me encouragement, a hope. My family, my wife, Mary Ann, she's just, she's amazing. We have 3 kids, David, Mary, Kate, and Emily, 20, 21, 19, and 17. I'm constantly reading, listening, using, YouTube videos. I love, listening to other people, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, Brian Tracy, Dale Carnegie, Dennis Waitley, Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen. I just, we just need to continue. Experts say we have over 65,000 thoughts a day. And what, are those thoughts positive or negative? Are those thoughts encouraging or discouraging? And, are making sure that you're filling your mind with possibilities, making sure, when I get up in the morning, Harrison, I throw the covers off and I say something wonderful is going to happen to me today. What are you saying when you first get up in the morning? Are you saying good morning, God, or good God morning? And then throw the covers off and say something wonderful is going to happen to me today. And then you get up and you go look for it. And then at the end of the day, when you're unfolding the pockets of your mind and thinking about the end of the day, thinking about, what was the great thing that happened to me today, and you're able to look at some of the, you started the day saying something wonderful was going to happen. At the end of the day, you're going to look back and say, what was that wonderful thing that happened to me today? And I'm so grateful for it. And making sure that you're going to bed, with an attitude of gratitude, and you're counting your blessings and not your problems. And so, when we go to bed, filling our mind with those things, I think that we're going to have a good, restful night's sleep, right? Some people sleep, but they don't rest. And I like the word rest, you see it in the word restoration, right? So like rest, so it's, just because you're sleeping doesn't mean you're resting. So that's why I think it's very important. There's prayer. Prayer is when we talk to our higher power, and then meditation is when we listen for the answer. So we just don't show up to our higher power with our laundry list. Here's everything I need from you, and then I got to go because I'm busy. But meditation, we're just sitting there and we're slowing our thoughts down, and we're doing our best to hear that small, still, silent voice inside of us, getting ideas and encouragement and hope and peace, because my brother, he said, even if you win the rat race, you still wind up a rat. So we don't want to be in the rat race. We don't want to be a rat. We want to be able to, be able to approach the world, like Einstein said, the most important question, I'll stop here. The most important question you may ever answer is, do you live in a friendly or hostile universe? I live in a friendly universe where people want to help me, and making sure that, you're not just watching the news all day long and hearing about all the murders and shootings and killings and explosions and rapes and horrible things and injustices that are in the world. Make sure that you're focusing on the good things too.
What kind of hobbies do you have, and what kind of things are you doing to bring joy to your life?
That's a great question, Harrison. I love to work out. I love to exercise. That's a fun thing. I love music. I love listening to music. I love laughing. I love finding good ways to laugh. I think laughter is the best medicine for the soul. Great book, Anatomy of an Illness, by I think it was Norman Cousins. And that's just coming up with ways to laugh. Just it's so important to laugh. It's so important, that you've got to take things seriously, but you can't always take yourself so seriously. Are you laughing? Did you laugh? Coming up with ways to laugh and smile, be happy. I love doing that. Love to barbecue. I have a big green egg and a Traeger grill. Love smoking foods. Love making barbecue pork. Having a good time with friends, and making some good barbecue and sitting around on the back deck with my wife and kids and family, friends, dog. That's a good time. I love being with friends and family. And I love connecting with old friends. Something, Harrison, I didn't touch on that was such a blessing to me was in college. I was in a fraternity, Phi Sigma Kappa National Fraternity, and those guys really taught me a lot, and they really taught me to make the best of every situation, and that's where I think I learned one of my philosophies of life, that things turn out the best for people who make the best of the way things turn out. And so like that's being involved with a great network. I've always loved being involved in great networks. I was involved with from when I was a little kid, Camp Marcella, and then because of Camp Marcella, I got involved with the Association of Blind Athletes. And then because the Association of Blind Athletes, I got involved with, that gave me the confidence to get involved and go to college. And then I get involved and play high school sports. And then I go to college, and then I, get involved in a fraternity, and I get involved in a fraternity. And then after that, I got involved with a consumer group, the National Federation of the Blind. And then, I have so many friends from there. And so I just love being part, I love making friends. You got to friend raise before you could fundraise. I love making friends, and none of us are smarter than all of us. And so just be able to be, part of a group, really, gives you people to access, call on, and, like I know Harrison, like now, you're stuck with me now. I got your phone number. I'm going to call on you. So, like I just love being able to make friends and call on people and figure out, the rising tide lifts all ships, and, figure out ways that we can all help each other. And I think I really got a lot of that confidence from my national fraternity, Phi Sigma Kappa.
Do you have any other advice in general? Is there anything that you would have liked me to have asked that I didn't?
I just think it's very important. There's 4 areas to think about, right? Physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And how are you doing physically? Are you getting enough exercise? Are you eating right? Are you drinking enough water? Are you getting enough sleep? Nothing tastes as good as, being in shape feels. And so a physical, mental, are you reading anything good? What are you reading? Readers are leaders and leaders are readers. Everybody knows the more you learn, the more you earn. What are you reading? What are you putting in your mind? Mental candy or mental protein? Make sure you're filling your mind with mental protein. Make sure, you're reading about things, learning about things. Make sure, you're constantly growing. You stop learning, you stop living. Physical, mental, emotional. Make sure you spend time with people you care about. Make sure you tell the people that you care about them. It's so important that we spend time with people we care about. It's so important that we have hobbies that we enjoy and we engage in, right? Physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Gallup survey said 86% of Americans believe in a higher power, that I call God. It's so important that we know that we were put here to do something. There are no mistakes. We were put here for a reason. And what's your reason that you were put here? Yes, you were put here there are no mistakes. There are no accidents. You were put here to do something, to make a positive difference. What's that positive difference that you're going to make? Physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual. So make sure you're connected. You're not alone. Remember, you're not alone. And I think this is a really important one, Harrison. Everybody has bad days. Everybody has bad days, but never confuse a bad day with a bad life. Everybody has bad days, but never confuse a bad day or a few bad days with a bad life, because we were put here to do something. We were put here to make a difference. We were put here to encourage, inspire, educate, and inform. And, and I truly believe, someone said that, God's gift to us was life. And what we do is our gift back to God. And what do we do with gifts? Right? We give gifts away. So, what do you love to do? You write, speak, dance, teach, give it away, and it'll come back multiplied. And I just love encouraging people. And someone told me this a long time ago too, Harrison: blindness was going to make me bitter or better, and I better pick the right one.
I hope we can all learn something from my conversation with David. And if you want to reach out to him, visit his website at daviddenotaris.com. I know for myself, I'm going to have hope, and I'm going to remember the 3 F's: faith, family, and friends. I hope you enjoyed listening to this conversation, and you come back to hear more inspiring stories from other blind and visually impaired people. And thanks for listening.